Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 11th virtual town hall meeting. We thank you very much for joining us here tonight, and we hope everyone is safe and dry after that treacherous storm we had about a week ago. If this is your first time attending one of our virtual town hall meetings, welcome. If you're a returning attendee, welcome back. This month, we are going to be talking about all the PPA permits that are provided to you, our customers. So last month, we discussed how to participate in our online virtual vehicle auctions, but we're kind of turning a page a little bit, and we just want to make sure that you, our customers, are aware of the various parking permits that we do provide to our customers. Would also like to take this time to let everyone know that all attendees are on mute. However, that does not mean we do not want to hear from you. So if at any time during the presentation you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the question feature that you will see on the web application on your computer. We will do our best to address any questions that you may have during the presentation. However, if we're not able to, we'll be sure to follow up with you via email. When you put a question in the question feature, it will be attached to the email that you use to sign up for this webinar. And in addition to that, following this presentation, we will have a brief survey at the end. It's about 5 questions, takes about 30 seconds to fill out, and we would really appreciate you taking the time to fill it out because it helps us gauge what people want to know about. And we actually tailor our virtual town hall meetings based on the feedback we receive from these surveys. So again, thank you very much for joining us here tonight. My name is Bill Wasser. I'm a communications coordinator with the Philadelphia Parking Authority, and I'm here with my esteemed colleague.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Janelle King.
And we have the utmost support of our executive director, Scott Petrie, our deputy executive director, Clarina Tolson, as well as our senior director of public engagement, Sue Cornell, who you see on the screen right now. Now, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, should you have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to drop them in the question feature, and Sue will pop up on the screen, read off the question, and we will do our best to address it. So without further ado, let's get into the permits. Janelle, what are we talking about here tonight?
Wait, before we do it looks like Sue has a question.
I'm sorry, I forgot I was on mute. I'm waving to you from here. It's a little hard for me to hear you, Janelle. So
Okay.
Yeah, just speak up a little bit louder because I know we're in different places, but so everybody can hear you.
No problem.
So Janelle, let's get into the permits.
Sure. Tonight we're going to talk about not only the permits that we offer to our residents, but also our business community. So we're going to talk about our residential residential parking permit program, which includes temporary parking permits, day passes, motorcycle and scooter permits. We're also going to talk about our business community permits offered, which are our contractor parking permits, loading zone permits, valet zone, and hotel loading zone permits. And we're also going to talk about temporary no stopping permits. We're also going to talk about, we're going to talk about our permits for residents tonight. So before we get into the program, the permits that we offer for our residents are a residential parking permit program, temporary parking permits, day passes, and also motorcycle and scooter permits.
Oh, sorry, jumped ahead a little bit there. Sorry about that, Janelle.
No problem. This is I would say one of our most common permit programs is the residential permit parking program. And we refer to this as the RPP. Like this, it's kind of like insider lingo, but that's just the way we refer to it, is our residential parking permit program. So RPP. It's what you may hear thrown around, throughout tonight's presentation. So the residential parking permit program allows parking past the posted time limit in RPP districts. It improves parking availability for neighborhood residents and also stimulates parking turnover for non-residential vehicles. But however, the RPP program does not guarantee you a parking space in front of your house or on your block, and you must also obey all other traffic regulations in your neighborhood. So just because you have the sticker that you place in your rear window, that does not mean that you can just park anywhere. You must adhere to the traffic laws and park within the 2 or 3 hour regulations.
Yeah, and like you said, the residential parking permit is the most commonly issued permit that the Philadelphia Parking Authority issues. And it's really beneficial to residents, and it helps increase your chances of getting parking closer to your place of residence. But I think we may have a question.
I don't have a question so much as a comment. We're getting some feedback from the audience that it is hard to hear you, and I can verify it's hard to hear you, Janelle, and you're breaking up a little bit and you're talking a little too fast. So we need to go slower and louder and clearer. So I don't know if you need to go somewhere else but see if just speaking up louder helps.
Okay, I may need to change my location, so if I turn my camera off, just bear with me. I'm having technical difficulties tonight.
Okay, so I don't know, Bill, do you want to take over for right now and let Janelle go to a better place maybe? See if that helps.
Absolutely. Well, as Janelle had mentioned, we do offer the residential parking permit for residents, and it helps increase your chances of getting a parking space close to your place of residence. Doesn't necessarily guarantee it, but it does increase your chances. Now, there are some requirements to obtaining a residential parking permit, and those requirements include that your vehicle must be registered at an address within a designated parking district within Philadelphia, and you need to provide an additional proof of residence. That additional proof of residence can include anything from a recent utility bill, a copy of your driver's license, or even a copy of a lease. But regardless of whatever proof of residence that you provide, you need to make sure that the name and address on the vehicle registration and the additional proof of residence match completely. However, if you are in active military service or you are utilizing a company leased vehicle, the vehicle registration requirement can be waived. You just need to provide documentation speaking to your active military service or the fact that it is a company leased vehicle. Now, in addition to that, before we go any further, one other thing I want to make mention of is before you even consider renewing or applying for a residential parking permit, the vehicle cannot have more than 3 outstanding parking, red light, or speed camera violations. Now, an outstanding violation means that the ticket either hasn't been paid or you haven't taken steps to properly dispute it. And it looks like we have Janelle back in action. We want to do a little mic check real quick.
For you, Janelle?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh,
Yep, we're good.
I cannot hear anything that's going on. Give me 1 second.
I
okay.
think
You're a little delayed too. This is our new world, and we expect technical difficulties, so that's okay. While we're waiting, Bill, I have a question. So 3 outstanding tickets. You cannot have 3 outstanding tickets if you want to apply for a residential parking permit. What if you have 3 that you have scheduled for a hearing with the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication because you feel like somebody did you wrong and they weren't deserved? What about that scenario?
Good question. So if you have 3 outstanding violations and you're in the process of disputing them, the fact that you took the step to dispute it and you're in that dispute process, they will not count against your ability to obtain a residential parking permit. So if you've taken the necessary steps, you should be in the clear.
All right, so they wouldn't be considered outstanding.
Pardon, can you repeat that, sir?
They would not be considered outstanding.
That is correct. That is correct.
Janelle, how are you doing?
I think I'm back. I can hear you guys fine. Everything is good on my end.
All right. A little bit of a delay, but we can hear you much better.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead, continue. I'll pop out here until we have another question.
All right, thanks a lot, and keep those
Alrighty.
questions coming in, folks. That was a really good question. So those are the requirements to obtaining or renewing a residential parking permit. But let's say you actually want these residential parking regulations installed near your home. Janelle, can you take it away there? How can we go about that process?
Sure, Bill. some things may change in your neighborhood. Say the vehicular traffic may have changed, and like say it's a new school opening or a train station was added to your neighborhood. You or your neighbors can inquire about having RPP signs installed at your, at your block or your residence. So first you will need to obtain a petition packet from our permit office. In the package, you will need to identify when and where you are requesting enforcement for. So you need to include the 100 block and the side of the street, and also include the date or the time and the days you wish our enforcement officers to patrol. After that, you will need to get at least 60% of the residents on that block to sign the petition. Excuse me. 60% meaning that, I'm sorry. This means that you must count the number of signatures in a household that are in favor of the program, along with the number of households at your, on your block. So we're going to do a little bit of math just for an example. I want to just make sure everybody is clear in understanding the 60% of their block signing. So for example, if you have 17 signatures and 25 homes on your block, you would divide the 17 by 25, which would give you 68%, which means you would qualify in order to have the regulations posted on your block. Because I want to make a note, PPA does not go out and solicit neighborhoods for regulations to be installed. The residents of those neighborhoods need to contact us in order for regulations to be put in or installed in residential neighborhoods. So the process, so after you get 60% of your neighbors to sign, you must then return your packet to a council person or to your council person for your district. And then that council person will forward your petition packet back to the parking authority, where it will be reviewed and considered for sign installation.
All right, good. And can't stress this enough, our residential parking program is widely popular, and it is a great benefit to residents because it does improve the quality of life for our customers in that it assists you in getting parking close to your home, especially after a long day's work. And I think we may have another question, hopefully not technical difficulties again, but
yeah, everything is sounding good. Now this is it's a question that I have a feeling you guys may not be able to answer because it may be just a particular situation, but I just wanted to throw it out there. So we have a question from our audience that is, what if you applied and you were approved, but they never came out to install the poles? And that's a really good question. And I would be wondering about why it didn't happen either. So for you, audience member who wrote us that question, we can contact you after this presentation and get some information from you so we can follow up specifically for your situation. So I didn't want you to think that we weren't answering your question, but it's most likely we probably need some more information. So for the sake of this presentation, we'll just keep moving on. Thank you.
Whoever that audience member is, if you wouldn't mind, help us streamline the process and provide the exact location of where you're seeking it to be installed. It'll help us verify that information more with our permit team when we come in the office tomorrow. But as Sue said, we will be sure to follow up with you. Well, thank you very much. And so let's say you do have residential parking permit regulations on your block and you are seeking to obtain or renew one. Maybe you're new to the city and you just moved into the city, your first time getting one, or you just need to renew one. Depending on the number of vehicles that are in your household will determine the price for the permit for each vehicle. So if I only have one vehicle in my household, the cost for that permit will be $35. But if I have two vehicles, the cost for the second vehicle would be $50. So let's do a little bit of math like Janelle did. This is just going to be easy addition, not like the percentage and fraction like the math problem that you did, which I was never really good at. So say you have two vehicles in your household. That means you'll be paying on an annual basis $85. That would be $50 plus $35. And if you have a third vehicle in your household, the cost of the third vehicle is $75. The fourth vehicle and any additional vehicle after that, they'll be $100 each. Now, we do also provide replacement permits for certain situations, and those situations include if you move to a different residential parking district or if you change your license plate. It is a $10 fee, and replacements can be obtained in person at our permit office located at 35 North 8th Street. But let's turn that around a little bit. Let's think about a scenario. Oh, I think we may have another question. I'll get back into those scenarios in a second.
I was going to say, you can finish what you're talking about, then I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. Just know that I'm here with a question when you take a pause.
All right, sounds good. The scenarios where you would need a replacement permit include, as I said, changing zones or if you're changing license plates. But let's say that you're the proud owner of a newly purchased vehicle, but you're keeping your license plate. If you're keeping the same, oh, we have a cameo.
Loves to be on
I always
camera.
forget your cat's name. Is it Peanut or Pumpkin?
They've worked at home, so she's liking this little bit.
Let's say you're the proud owner of a newly purchased vehicle and you are getting and you are not changing your license plate. If you're not changing your license plate, you don't need to take any action. But again, if you're moving to a different residential parking zone or you are replacing your license plate, you would be required to obtain a replacement permit for a $10 fee in person at our permit office. And that pretty much covers the cost and and requirements for our residential parking permit program.
So my question, this is actually a really good question, and can go back to something that you probably mentioned earlier. Why would we see residential permits on cars that have New Jersey plates?
That is a good question. We get that rather often. Residents are kind of perplexed why they see out-of-state vehicles with permit stickers, and that's a fair question. If you, as mentioned earlier, if the owner of the vehicle is in active military service, or if the vehicle that's being used is a company leased vehicle, the vehicle registration requirement can be waived, which means if the vehicle is not registered in Pennsylvania, then it will not have a Pennsylvania plate. So it is not uncommon to see that. So if you see a New Jersey vehicle with a residential parking permit sticker, that means that the owner is either in active military service or it's a company leased vehicle.
Thank you. And I have one more while we're all here. If someone had applied, well, we have someone who was approved for a permit online application back in the beginning of August. When should they expect to receive their permit in the mail? And if you can just kind of elaborate also, I think you're going to answer it the way I want you to, but I'll let you go ahead and answer. And if you don't, I'll follow up with a question.
So this was an online application?
Correct.
Okay.
And they have not received their actual permit in the mail.
Okay. Depending on the volume of renewal requests at a given time, there can be delays in the mailing of the actual physical permit stickers. But after your online application is approved and you make payment on your application, your vehicle will then have an active residential parking permit, and our officers will reference your license plate number to verify that permit. Now, even though the permits for all intents and purposes are mostly virtual now, we do highly recommend placing the sticker on your rear windshield just in case there is a technical difficulty with our back-end system, our officers' handheld devices that would prevent them from verifying your plate having an active permit. But again, after you make payment on your online application, your vehicle will have an active residential parking permit that permits you to park in your residential parking district past the posted time.
Okay, thanks. Please continue.
All righty. Great
Sure. Well,
question.
Bill talked about, that was a great question. Bill talked about the requirements and we talked about, the overall logistics of the RPP sticker in our program. But now we're going to walk you through the process of how you apply for an RPP. And like you said, you can apply online, but you can also apply in person and through the mail. So since our online portal is a little new, and since we're doing virtual town halls, Bill is going to do a little demonstration of our back end of our online permit portal and also show you a few of the other features on that page that we'll be talking about tonight.
All right, thank you, Janelle. So in order to get the process started, it's actually really, really simple, folks. You go to our website, www.philapark.org, and you'll be brought to the home screen here. And right front and center, you'll see this icon for permits. After you click on permits, you'll be brought to our permits page. Now, before showing you the online application and renewal process, just want to spend a couple of seconds here. Throughout this presentation, we are going to be talking about, like we said, all the permits that we offer. And the information for all those permits lives on this page right here. You'll notice contractor parking, disabled parking sign information, which we do plan on having a dedicated virtual town hall on, day pass applications, hotel loading zone, and the sort. But the point is, if you are looking for permit information on any of the permits that we provide, this is the place to do it on our permit page, which is linked directly on our homepage. But we want to show you how to go about either renewing or applying for a residential parking permit online. So when you're on the permit page, you'll see residential parking permit information right here. Click on the link. Then you'll be brought to our residential parking permit page. After you scroll down a little bit, you'll see right here, renew or apply for a residential parking permit online. Click the below link, and then you'll be taken to our permit portal. But before you're given access to that, you need to agree to the terms of use agreement and click continue. After hitting continue, you're brought to our permit portal page. Now, this is really important. If you do not have an existing residential parking permit account, you're going to want to use this option right here. And in addition to that, if you do have an existing residential parking permit account, but you've never used our online portal before, you're also going to want to use the first option you see right here for first-time users. So if you fall into that category, you click on Setup. And if you have an existing permit account, you can enter your current permit number or account number and confirm your email address. But if you do not have an existing permit account, you're going to make sure this box is selected right here. And then from there, you'll be prompted to set up your permit account. Now, some things to keep in mind when you're setting up your permit account for the first time is that you need to include your name, your first name and your last name. But what you should really keep in mind is that when you're filling out your address, the address number and the street name are separate. So you're going to want to enter in, say I live at 123 Fake Street. I would add 123 right here. And then from here, you'll be able to scroll to the street in which you reside. Because all the streets that currently have residential parking permit regulations are listed right here, and you'll be able to select it from that drop-down list. So after you verify all your information is correct and confirm your email, you click submit and you're able to go about either renewing or applying for a residential parking permit for the first time. But for the purposes of this presentation, we did actually create a test permit account for demonstration purposes. So we already have an online account with our permit portal. So we are a returning user. If you are a returning user, you're going to click to log in, and you're going to be either able to log in with your account number or permit number. Now I have my permit number handy. Then you verify the name on the account. And then you log into your account. Now, It may take maybe up to 20 seconds for this to load, depending on the number of people using the site at a given time. It is a popular feature. A lot of people are using it at once, and that was actually really quick. That was a lot less than 20 seconds. And after you're logged into your account, all of your account information is visible right here. You see, we set up a test vehicle that we want to renew a permit for. The license plate number is test 123. Now, in order to start that process from this screen, you're going to go down here where it says either purchase or renew parking permits. Click order new. Then you're going to select your permit type. We are looking for an annual residential parking permit right here. But another thing that we want to mention too is that you are able to obtain residential parking permits for scooters or motorcycles. And in addition to that, the cost for a scooter or motorcycle residential parking permit is only $35 regardless of the number of vehicles you have in your household. So just a quick tip there, regardless of the number of vehicles in your household, it's only $35 for a scooter or motorcycle. But we want to renew the residential parking permit on my car. So I click annual permit, and then you're going to select the specific vehicle you'd like to renew the permit for. We have test 123 right here. That's my vehicle. Click on next, and you're going to be brought to your order summary to verify that you have all the vehicles selected that you want to renew or apply for a permit. Now keep in mind too, with online applications, there is a $3.50 convenience fee for the online process, in addition to the cost of the permit itself. So once you've verified that you have all the correct vehicles selected, you click next, and this is where you're going to be prompted to upload the documentation for review by our permit team. And again, that documentation includes proof of residence and a vehicle registration or temporary registration. You're able to upload it through this link right here. And once you have the necessary files selected and click submit, then it's shipped away to our permit team to review. And if you guys can give me 1 second, I want to stray back to the slideshow here.
But in the meantime, I think we have a question.
We do, so that's a good time for that.
All right.
And this is actually a super good question because I think we've come across this before in our daily work, and I think it's also has kind of exposed a flaw in our system. So the question is, how can I tell what zone number I was approved for until the permit? So this is somebody who applied online and maybe their payment was approved, but they haven't received their sticker yet. But how would they know what number they're approved for?
Well, to verify your residential parking district, if you notice on the signs, the residential parking permit signs that are installed on your street, that would indicate the parking district that you're in. Now, our system, when you're applying for a residential parking permit and you select the address in our permit portal, the district for that specific address is already determined in our backend system. I'm not sure if I completely answered the question there, but the question is
I'm not sure either. I'm pretty sure we came across this before. Is there a way to check, like if you, is there something where you could check if you put in your address to know what residential parking permit district you are in?
I know before the online portal system was set up that the actual zone was in your RPP number. I'm not sure if that still goes for the online portal.
Well, this is somebody who has been approved, but they haven't gotten their sticker yet.
Okay. I know if they reach out to us, we should be able to see what district they are in, that they are paid to park in.
And if you want to, I'm sorry, is the question verifying what district they're in?
What zone? Right.
Well,
District, zone.
right,
Mhm.
there's actually a couple of options where you can actually look up that specific information. One is looking in the Philadelphia traffic code, but a more user-friendly way of doing that, there's actually a pretty fancy web application called Parkadelphia that does have that information, and you would be able to enter in your specific address, and it would be able to tell you the residential parking district that you're in. Again, that's parkadelphia.com. It is not associated specifically with the Philadelphia Parking Authority, but it was created by a private citizen who actually did a really good job on it. And we actually have something internally in the works that will address questions such as that.
Oh, sorry, I'm typing away like crazy. He's got a lot of questions. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good. All right. So that is the process on how you go about applying or renewing your residential parking permit online. But Janelle, we got a lot more permits to talk about here. What do we got
Yes.
next?
I don't know if I'm just seeing this, but I'm seeing the slide presentation and the slide notes.
Oh, apologies. I will.
Okay. And we're back. So Bill talked about, we both talked a little bit about our residential parking permit program. But if you don't qualify to register or to obtain a residential parking permit, and you live in a residential parking permit area, maybe the temporary parking permit program or our day pass program may help you out a little bit. So a temporary parking pass program allows parking past the posted time limits on streets with RPP signs within a residential district for a temporary period of time. These passes must be purchased in person at our permit office located at 35 North 8th Street. The requirements to get a temporary parking permit is that you just must be a resident, so you have to provide proof of residency, and also the visiting vehicle's license. That's including the state and the actual license plate number. This is to identify that that vehicle has a valid temporary parking permit. In order to obtain the temporary parking permits, after you show your proof of residence, our temporary parking permits are offered in increments of 15 days or 2 increments of 15 days. The temporary parking permits become valid as soon as they are purchased. However, if you purchase two increments of 15 days for a maximum of 30 consecutive days, you must wait 45 days in order to obtain an additional temporary parking permit. So it's just a little heads up and a little word from the wise. The temporary parking permits are a great option for a rental vehicle or a long-term guest. Say you have a nanny or someone coming to stay with you for an extended period of time. The temporary parking permit will help them park in your area without being ticketed. And our next program we want to talk about is our residential day passes. So they get a little confusing, but I want to break them down for you. So the residential day passes allows parking past the posted time limits on streets within a residential district for only one single day. You must apply for these in person or via mail. And if you look to your screen, the right of our screen is the application for a day pass. The only requirement is that you must be a resident of the city of Philadelphia and live within a residential district. So you can apply for a day pass. I think the residential day passes are a great option. You get a booklet of 5 day passes for $35. So that's about $7 a day for parking. Residents can purchase a maximum of 2 booklets, but must wait 90 days before buying another booklet. So like the temporary parking passes, you must wait 45. For the residential day passes, you must wait 90 days in order to purchase another booklet. This is a great option for a babysitter or overnight guest or a private contractor, maybe just coming to do one day's worth of work or a couple of days worth of work. How it works is though, you must enter the state and the license plate of the visiting vehicle. You also must scratch off the day and the date, or the month and the date in which you wish to use your residential parking pass. And another added step is that you have to hang the day passes from your rear view mirror in order for our patrol officers to know that that day pass is identifiable to that vehicle. And also, just a little heads up, the day passes do not have to be used right away. They're valid for up to a year after their purchase. So I always say, like, if you're an Airbnb host, or, like you're having friends over for the weekend, these are great to have. It's like an extra bonative step for your residents or for your visitors. But I
If you
did
were
kind
a Airbnb host, you would definitely get a super host rating if you provided one of your guests with a couple of those, for sure.
but they could be helpful. I covered a lot of information talking about the temporary parking passes and day passes, and I want to make sure that everybody understands. Like, we've been here for a while, and it still can be confusing for us. So the temporary parking passes are custom to each visiting vehicle. That's why it is very important for you to have the exact or the correct license plate of that visiting vehicle. The temporary parking passes are only valid for one vehicle for consecutive or for up to 30 consecutive days. So you can't use the temporary parking passes for 1 week, say, no, I'm not going to use it next week, and then want it to be valid for the following week. The temporary parking passes are valid for 15 consecutive days at a time. And the temporary parking permits, like Bill said, like the RPP stickers, are virtual. We ask that you put the sticker in your rear window. It's just an additive step if there's some technical difficulties, but the passes are virtual. Do you have a question before I go on?
I just wanted to make a statement, actually, to all of our attendees. I'm getting a lot of questions, so it's just me here, and I'm furiously typing away and trying to listen to you guys at the same time to know when I can pop in. But I just want to let everyone know that if you're concerned and you're contacting us tonight, if we don't answer your exact question tonight, we will absolutely get back to you tomorrow. Some of the questions we need a little bit of back and forth so we need to get some information from you before we can look into it further. But I just want to let everyone know that I am here behind the scenes trying to either answer your questions or let you know that if we can't specifically tonight, that we will get back to you tomorrow. And I'm super glad and excited that you're asking us these questions, because this is exactly why we hold these every month. So sometimes we were wondering if anybody's out there listening, and tonight we know that you are. So thank you for that, and we're here to help, and that's my spiel. Okay, go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, just to get back on the day passes. Day passes can be utilized by any vehicle on your choice of any given day. So like I said, you just have to scratch off the date and the day, or the month and the date in which you wish to use the day pass, and make sure that you write in the state and the license plate of the vehicle, and also hang it from your rear view mirror. So the day passes, like I said, must be filled out, and they must include all of this information in order for the day pass to be valid. So our officers will scan the vehicle or check your license plate, and if the day pass may not match your license plate, that vehicle could be subject to a ticket. So it's just always better to play safe than sorry.
All good to know. And Janelle, I really got to say, I'm going to be completely honest. If I had an Airbnb host who had a day pass waiting for me, instant superhost review, without a doubt. That essentially wraps up the residential parking permit portion of our presentation. But we wanted to cue you in on another permit that we provide for scooters and motorcycles. Throughout Philadelphia, the PPA provides a little more than 40 designated zones for scooters and motorcycles, and we provide a virtual permit exactly for that, specifically for dedicated scooter and motorcycle zones. This is not a residential parking permit. This is a permit that permits all day parking in scooter and motorcycle corrals. And the only requirement to obtain one is you need to provide proof of registration, your scooter, motorcycles license plate number, and they do need to be purchased in person at our permit office located at 35 North 8th Street. In addition to that, just another little tidbit of information. If you don't have a virtual permit for a scooter or for a scooter corral, it is a flat rate of $5 per day. But say you park at a scooter or motorcycle zone on a daily basis, this may be more economical for you, because as you can see, the cost for a 3-month permit is $75. 6 months would be $150, and 9 months would be $225, and a year would be $250. Now, something to keep in mind if you do obtain a permit for a scooter or motorcycle corral is that the permit expires exactly 1 year after the day you purchase it. So it's important that you take note of the expiration date should you choose to obtain a virtual scooter or motorcycle permit for designated scooter and motorcycle zones. But that essentially wraps up our residential parking permit program for this presentation. But Janelle, we can't forget about Philadelphia's businesses, can we?
No, we can't. Not our businesses or our business community, because there are a lot of people who come into the city to do work also. So just want to throw it out there. The Parking Authority offers business and parking zone permits. So tonight we're going to talk about our contractor parking permit program, loading zone permits, valet zone permits, and hotel loading zone permits. So first, to start off, we're going to talk about our contractor parking permit program. A contractor parking permit is only used to perform contractor services. This program was established to enable licensed contractors to access their vehicles during a workday to retrieve tools or materials. So that way they didn't have to park 3 or 4 blocks away and, have to truck it back from the job site to their truck. So it's just an added convenience for construction workers or licensed contractors in the city. The program allows contractors to park in metered and time limit zones past the limit. So you don't get time 2 hours. You don't have to only pay your meter for 2 hours. You get to park in those zones without limit. The requirements for having a contractor placard is that the business must possess all trade and occupation and business privilege license to the city, and they must be up to date. The business also must have no unpaid taxes owed to the city of Philadelphia. So under our program, eligible vehicles will be issued a renewable 6-month permit for $150. Just to throw it out there, cash is not accepted in our permit office if we didn't state it before. So if you purchase anything in person in our permit office, you must have either a check, a card, or a money order. Cash is not accepted. So just to get back, so eligible vehicles will be issued a $150 renewable permit. Each virtual placard is issued with a 6-month term from April to October or October through April. So just a heads up, if you purchase a permit anywhere in between the April 14th date and the expiration of October 16th, that permit is only valid until October 16th and not past that date. So you still have to pay the $150 in it for that amount of time. Applying for the contractor parking permits, you can either apply through the mail, fax, or emailing your applications to our contractor parking department.
Yeah, again, Janelle, like you said, that's a great option for a contractor that needs to do work at a residence or a business. It's a great option to keep in mind if that sounds like something that fits your needs. But let's talk a little bit more about the options available to businesses, in particular our loading zone program. Now, businesses can apply to have loading zones established in front of their place of business. But before I get into the requirements, I think we may have another question.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't want to break your groove, but this is actually back for an annual residential permit parking. So could somebody get a permit for their daughter to be able to park in their neighborhood who lives in a different area of Philadelphia? What would the solution be for that?
I'm sorry, repeat it one more time. You did
So
break up.
let's pretend it's me.
Yeah.
I have a daughter, but I have a son. So let's
Mhm.
say my son, I want to get a permit for my son to be able to park in my neighborhood. I live in South Philadelphia, but he lives by the art museum. What's the solution?
Well, as we
Unless-
mentioned, you want to take it, Janelle? That's fine.
No, go ahead.
Well, as we said before, in order to obtain a residential parking permit for a particular district, the vehicle must be registered at that address, and the proof of residence and vehicle registration, the names and addresses need to match on that. So if you can't meet that that qualification, the best recourse would be to obtain one of the temporary parking permits that Janelle had mentioned if it's a long-term stay. And if the person actually plans on living at that residence permanently, we highly recommend changing the registration to reflect that address and then go about obtaining a residential parking permit.
So the answer is you can't get an annual permit for someone else who doesn't live or their car isn't registered in that district, but you could make use of either the day passes or the temporary passes that you explained earlier.
Correct.
I was going to say, just depending on the amount of time that they plan on staying. So if it's a short stay, the day passes would be better probably because you get 5, in a booklet of 5. So you can use them at will. The temporary parking passes must be used in consecutive days. So you can't pick and choose when you would like to use that parking pass to park in that zone.
All right, thank you.
And something else that I feel like it bears mentioning as well is that those requirements that we have been going over regarding residential parking permits, that is, we actually don't make those rules. That is something that was enacted by law by city council. So in the long run, the PPA doesn't make the laws. We didn't make the laws pertaining to the residential parking permit program. We just merely administer the program and enforce accordingly.
Thank you. And I kind of want to piggyback on that because for pretty much everything we do, we are not the body that creates the regulations. City council most likely for most of our things or some things that were mandated by the state to do. But yes, so when it comes to prices, even ticket prices, the cost of meter rates, all of those things are set by city council. So we certainly like to have a place at the table when it comes to making those decisions, but ultimately it isn't up to us. So just throwing it out there also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, as I was saying, businesses can apply to have a loading zone established in front of their place of business. And the requirements for that process is that it must be a business or profession that's within Philadelphia. And before a zone can be installed, an inspection and installation costs must be paid. If everything passes there, a loading zone will be established in front of your place of business. You apply for a loading zone to be installed via mail at the address provided below there in black. And we'll be sure that everyone gets all these addresses and email links towards the end of this presentation because I know it's a lot of information, but we'll be rehashing that a little bit later just to make sure that everybody has the necessary information if they want to pursue any of these permit opportunities. The cost associated with a loading zone being installed depends on where exactly in the city you want it. Now, if you are requesting a loading zone within Center City or University City, the cost would either be $500 per meter removal. That means like if we would be required to remove a parking meter in order to install a loading zone, or $250 per 23 feet. So if it was 46 feet of space, the cost would be $250. And in all other areas, the cost would be $300 per meter removal or $150 per 23 feet of space. And there is an annual renewal cost. And again, that's dependent upon the location within the city where the loading zone would be. In Center City and University City, it's $150 per year. In all other areas of the city, it is $75 per year. Now, before we move on, here's just a quick little tip for you if you're considering applying for a loading zone. If your place of business resides on a street that also has a bike lane on it, all these fees are waived. You would incur no cost. So that's just something to keep in mind if you would like to pursue a loading zone for your place of business. And one last thing, when a loading zone is established, that means anyone, member of the public, is permitted to use it. That includes your patrons or maybe even a neighboring business's patrons. It is open to the public. That pretty much concludes the loading zone aspect, but I don't know, did you ever feel fancy and roll up to a restaurant and then hand your keys to someone and feel like a celebrity? Well, I think Janelle's going to delve into how those types of zones can be established for you.
So I want to talk a little bit about our valet zone program. So we offer a valet program or a valet zone program for vehicles being operated by individuals patronizing the business which the zone was established for. So in order to obtain a valet zone, the valet company must first have an agreement with the establishment in order to valet those vehicles. And they also have to have an agreement with the parking facility where they will be valeting those cars, or where the cars will be kept. They also have to have valid or copies of valid driver's license for all the members of the company. And they also must have a liability insurance that must be up to date or must be on file, up to date and on file with us. So if you look to the right of our screen, this is our valet zone parking application. So in order to apply, you must go online first and download or print out the application. On the application, you'll see all the information, which you can identify your company and all of the insurance information and also the added documents that you would need for this zone. I want to make mention the applications, violation. Why do I keep saying violation? I apologize, guys. Excuse me. Valet zone pricing depends on the area in which the city you are requesting a valet zone, and also the length of the space that's required for your zone, similar to the loading zone policy that Bill was just talking about. Being a former PO or a parking enforcement officer, I just wanted to give a heads up that there are two violations that are tailored or associated with valet zones. Like we always say, red means a restriction. So normally when you see a valet zone, it'll say valet and it'll have the hours of enforcement, which means the hours that they will be valeting from that zone. So all valet zones, if you park in a valet zone and you are not valeting your car, you could be subject to being ticketed and towed. However, if that valet company is observed or witnessed parking your car illegally or in a non-regulated valet zone, that company will also be ticketed and they will be responsible for that ticket on your vehicle. So if that company is not properly valeting the cars, they will be ticketed and also held responsible for that violation. So just a heads up.
That's a good insider tip from a former parking enforcement officer. So listen up, folks. Janelle is extremely knowledgeable on stuff like that. Before we conclude all of our permits that the PPA offers, the last one that we want to get to is a hotel loading zone. Hotel loading zones are available for loading and unloading of materials and passengers at hotel locations. And the requirements for a hotel loading zone is that the establishment must be a hotel servicing vendors and persons making making or receiving deliveries. Now, once a hotel loading zone is established, each hotel loading zone has a 30-minute time limit. And after it's established, the hotel will be provided a placard, one placard per 20 feet of space that the loading zone takes up, that they give to patrons to temporarily use as they park in that hotel loading zone. It's really a great option for a hotel, especially if someone has a full luggage, full packed car of luggage, and they pull up and you just pull up curbside and get easy access to the hotel entrance. And to apply for a hotel loading zone, you see the address right there. You can mail the application, which again can be found on our website, to 701 Market Street, Suite 5400. And the costs associated with the installation and renewal of a hotel loading zone is $250 fee, in addition to $500 per 20 feet of space that the zone takes up. And in addition to that, annual renewal cost of $500 per 20 feet of space. So if the space takes up 40 feet, it would be a $1,000 a year renewal cost. Again, it's a great option for hotel patrons, and similar to the example that we gave about day passes earlier and getting a good Airbnb rating, this is kind of like the equivalent for hotels, I feel like. But
Right, it's just the additive step for your, for your visitors or for your patrons.
exactly. Well, that concludes the permits and zones that the PPA provides, but there are some other permits that are offered within the city, but we do not handle, but we still want to make you aware of.
I was going to say, if you live near University City or in the Temple area, these signs are kind of prominent in your area around this time of the year. So the temporary no stopping police regulations. This application is used for obtaining permits to occupy space for the city street if you're moving, a moving truck, a moving container, or a temporary dumpster. So we do not administer the temporary no parking regulations. These regulations are administered by the Philadelphia Streets Department right-of-way unit. When temporary police regulations are installed, they take precedence over the posted regulations for that block. So you must adhere to the dates and the times listed on the signs in order to know if you can or cannot park at that location. And the temporary no stopping, the temporary police no stopping regulations are, like I said, again, not enforced by us. We don't put them up, and we do not enforce them. The police are solely responsible for enforcing the temporary no stopping regulations. So if you see them in your neighborhood or if you have a problem, just contact your local police department and they will take care of that issue. So we went over a lot of information tonight, and we kind of just wanted to recap on some of the contact information that we went through. So our address here is 701 Market Street, Suite 5400, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19106. If you're sending like your loading zone application, contractor parking permits, you can mark them to the attention of that department when you mail in your applications. Our permit customer service office is located at 35 North 8th Street. The office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And these are some of the links that you can see on your screen that we've gone through tonight. So our website, which is philippark.org, our permits page, which is philippark.org/permits, and the streets department's page if you're inquiring about the temporary no stopping permits, which would be philadelphiastreets.com.
And Janelle, speaking of contact information, if you want to continue the conversation with myself and Janelle, this is how you do it. You can reach out to us on our social media channels at Philip Parking. Those accounts are up. We have a cameo again. You could reach out to us on
loves
social
you
media
guys.
channels. The accounts are monitored 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You could also reach out to us at engageppa@villapark.org. So if a question pops into your head that you didn't get to plop in the question feature tonight, this is how to do it. And I think Sue.
I do. This is me saying I have one more that's actually a great question to end on tonight. Will a recording of this be available to those who are unable to attend? Good. We should always add that to the end of our program. See, we're always learning. We're trying to be better every time.
Yes, a recording will be available tomorrow. We will be sure to get it on our YouTube channel, which is also linked to our website. But we'll be sure to get it up there for you.
Thank
And
you
again,
very much.
Not a problem. And again, this has been brought to you by the PPA Department of Public Engagement. We really appreciate you guys joining us here tonight. And we'd also like to take the time to formally invite you to our next virtual town hall meeting, which will take place on Thursday, October 7th at 6 p.m. We hope to see you then. And again, following this presentation, you will be prompted to take a brief survey. If you wouldn't mind filling it out, greatly appreciated. And as Sue mentioned earlier, if you had a question in there that we were not able to get to, we'll be in touch. So again, thank you for joining us here tonight. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer. Be safe, be well, and we hope to see you on Thursday, October 7th at 6 p.m. Good night and enjoy the rest of your summer all.
Good job. Thanks
Night.
everyone for being with us tonight.